Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is Rockwell Spot coming at you with a weekly TV roundup. It'll be a bit of a short one, actually, as there were only 3 shows that hadn't done their mid-season finales as of last week's video. We're going to start off with this past Friday's Constantine, which opens in a convent shortly after the birth of a couple's son. Later, the baby is kidnapped and the mother killed by a demon. Back at the cabin, Zed is drawing things she's seen since her and John's trip to Kentucky. One of the nuns, a woman named Anna, contacts John via bilocation to inform him of the baby's kidnapping. John and Chad head to Mexico while Zed stays at the cabin, mainly so she can recover from what all she had been through in Kentucky. It turns out that the nun, Anna, is part of the group that was with John in Newcastle. And in fact, the events of Newcastle are why she has gone into a convent. Zed explores the cabin after hearing some noises, while John finds the demon's point of entry, and after some investigation is somewhat able to discern the demon's identity, one of Eve's sisters. By Eve, I mean Eve as in Adam and. Back in Georgia, Zed runs into Eddie, her would-be date from the previous episode, and has a vision of him in a closing vault, leading him to, and they end up going on with having their drinks at a more private location. Back in Mexico, another baby is taken. Turns out it's well, in all honesty, the nephew of the baby kidnapped in the beginning of the episode, which make John realize eventually that these children are not being eaten or destroyed, but rather they're being used as recruitment for an ancient Chilean warlock sect. John learns about the warlock sect a bit later, but he tries to at least see the face of the demon responsible, as he believes it to be Lilith. Zed finds out that Eddie has been set after her by her father, and in fact during this, Eddie refers to Zed as Mary. Back in Mexico, the baby kidnappings are revealed to be, as I said, recruitment for an ancient Chilean warlock sect. John devises a plan to find the babies. Back in Georgia, Eddie reveals himself to be Zed's brother, which makes the date really weird. And she soon discovers that members of a group called the Crusade followed her and Eddie to the cabin. And they eventually take her prisoner, though she at least manages to dispatch one of them. In Mexico, John and company trick the demon into leading them to where she's keeping the babies. John and Anna rescue the two and find out what the plan is behind the coming darkness. Combine hell and earth into one realm. To save the babies from another creature, Anna shoots John and leaves him for dead. And that was where the episode ended, actually. So the last part of the season should be interesting, to say the least. Anywho, moving on to Arrow. Opens with Ollie climbing a mountain with snow blowing around and whatnot, before flashing back to 48 hours earlier, where he's attacked behind the Starling City Police Department after a discussion with Captain Lance by members of the League of Assassins who overpower him and kidnap Ollie. Amongst the members of the League of Assassins include his former handler from Hong Kong, and these members of the League give it, as well as Nissa Al Ghul, Sarah's former lover, who gives him an ultimatum: give up Sarah's killer in 48 hours, or they will start killing innocent civilians at 50 a day. Felicity manages to get the DNA results back from Star Labs and is shocked by the result. as most of the DNA seems to point to Ollie. Dinah's mother comes to Starling for Christmas, and while talking with Captain Lance and Dinah, comes to the realization that Dinah is not being entirely truthful about Sarah's whereabouts. After getting security footage from a local airstrip, Felicity concludes that it was most likely Thea who killed Sarah, as that would explain the similarity in the DNA on the arrow. Over coffee, Dinah tells her mother the truth about Sarah, and also why she has not told her father, and mainly that she doesn't think he could take it. As the arrow, Ollie questions Thea about Malcolm Merlin, which leads Malcolm to convince Ollie to take the blame for Sarah's death and challenge Ra's al Ghul to trial by combat. The idea being that Ollie would kill Ra's, and any blood debts he had decreed during his lifetime were then over with. Ollie meets with Ra's and challenges him to trial by combat. By league custom, Ollie is given 12 hours to settle his affairs, and so he basically, in his own way, says goodbye to Thea. Then says goodbye to Diggle, Roy, and Felicity, and adds with Felicity that he loves her. Now, before this, Ray Palmer and Felicity had a chat. First off, about the kiss and why he left so abruptly afterwards. It turns out that his fiancée was killed during the siege of Starling City after he had his leg broken. Then he shows Felicity the Adams mock-up and tells her its purpose: protecting Starling City. Anywho, back to Ollie and Ra's. Before the duel, Ra's does tell Ollie some of his background, namely about the first time he ever killed a man, which was when he was 11 years old. Also, that it had been 67 years since he fought someone. Anywho, the duel begins between Ra's and Ollie, and Ra's applauds Ollie for lasting longer than most. However, he eventually ends up running Ollie through, and in fact knocks him off the cliff they're fighting at the edge of. In flashbacks, Ollie and his handler go after a super virus, but are too late, and the Triad boss, who was responsible for stealing it, attacks Tatsu, the wife of Ollie's handler, and at least kidnaps her, if not worse. Anyway, this should definitely make for an interesting regular season if Ollie's been run through and knocked off a cliff. So we'll see how the rest of it goes. There are rumors that the Lazarus Pit may make an appearance, which that would be interesting. Anywho, moving on to Scorpion, the last one for this week, and in fact, the last one for the next few weeks, actually. Opens with Sylvester, Toby, and Happy basically crapping on Paige's Christmas spirit, while Walter and Megan have lunch on the beach just before a rock slide happens. This causes Walter to call in the team as a young boy is trapped beneath the rock slide. The team does what they can to save the boy. However, Sylvester ends up making the decision he's going to leave the team, and he tells Megan, who basically gives him some tough love about the whole thing, which eventually causes him to change his mind. A second rock slide, however, cuts off the boy's oxygen. Though Toby arrives with the jack that Happy made, allowing Walter to free the boy's leg, only for the tunnel to fill partially with sand most of the way up. However, they are able to get Walter and the boy out, and once they're freed, Paramedics managed to resuscitate the boy, who had been underwater for over 7 minutes. Happy truly reunites with her father, whom she has actually secretly been working for on the side for the last few months or so. And the team, along with Ralph and Happy's dad, have Christmas dinner together. Also, earlier, I might add, various reporters are wanting to speak to Walter about how it is that the young boy was able to survive so long without oxygen. And while Walter does have a scientific explanation, he is quite happy to just simply let them call it a miracle. And that was the end of their mid-season finale. Of all the various shows, that's probably the most anticlimactic of the bunch for a mid-season finale. But having a continuous they don't exactly have a continuing running story, so it's kind of acceptable. Anywho, I'll be back on Saturday with another video. It'll be one of either two things. We'll see how I'm feeling by the time when the time arrives. Wednesday, well, maybe there'll be a video, maybe not. It depends, as all the shows are over, so we'll see. Anyway, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Links to both are down below. This is the Rock and Roll Spock signing off. Live long, rock hard.